Jungle Hunt. Oh, yeah. I remember when this game came out originally in the arcades. I think it was back in the early 80s. And one of the things that really drew me to this game was the varied gameplay it had. You know, it had like different levels you had to play through, and each level had a little bit different of a gameplay mechanic. That was kind of cool. And of course, at the time, I liked Tarzan movies, and I remember seeing this at a friend's house at an arcade party a few months ago that had like a different character as the main guy. It looked like a bare-chested guy with a loincloth. I think it was like called Jungle Boy or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, back to this game. I used to play this game quite a bit in the arcades. I could very rarely get to the very end where you could rescue the girl, so I never did get to level 2 of this game, ever. But it was still a lot of fun to play. I think my most favorite part of the game was probably the very first part, swinging on the vines, trying to time your jumps and everything. I had some friends that actually could fly right through this level, and I don't understand how they could do it, because I always fell off the vines constantly. But then after that, you know, you would dive into the river, and of course you could fight the crocodiles. You have to attack them from underneath, which at the time I didn't realize, so I died a lot until I learned that little trick. And then you start running up this incline with these boulders coming down at you. You got the small boulders, you got these big old boulders that you can either run underneath or something like that, or time the jump when they hit the ground. This level was very challenging for me. This is usually where I died every time when I was playing the arcade version back then. I never could hardly get past the boulder field. Then, of course, we get to the very end. You got Penelope hanging off this vine over this big old pot, going up and down. And you're trying to time your jumps, go over these little native guys with these spears poking up in the air to try to hit you as you jump over. Pretty challenging part of the game. And, of course, when you do get Penelope, it goes to this nice little screen which shows, "Oh, I love you." She kisses you. I never saw that screen in the arcade. I was never that good at this game to get to that screen. But I still really enjoyed playing it, like I said before. Now, of course, not too long after this, Atari released this game on the 2600. And I remember seeing this at the local, I think the Children's Palace is where I bought a lot of my Atari games. And I remember seeing this up on the shelf. They had these like little pull tags, and you have a box there behind this plexiglass frame, and a little ticket you would pull and take up front. And they pull the game out of this little storage area or whatever it was. But I remember seeing it there. I was like, "Oh man, I love that game. I'll get on the 2600 and I can play it at home." Well, when I got the game home, you know, of course, being the 2600, it is going to be very limited in what you're going to get from the arcade game. But the gameplay mechanics were basically there. You know, jumping from vine to vine, which is challenging in its own right. You had the river part with the crocodiles. Even though your guy doesn't have his helmet on and stuff, looks like he's naked on top and only wearing pants. So it's kind of funny. Then, of course, you have the boulder field. And, you know, it's flat and on incline to try to get over those boulders or duck under the big boulders. Either one. And then when they got to the final level, instead of having two guys on the screen at once you had to jump, they kind of divided up into 3 separate screens. So you got the first screen where the guy jumping back and forth. You got to time it to get over him. And then when you get over to the second screen, you have to do the same thing. And then the last screen just shows Penelope standing there by herself, alone in the jungle. And you walk up to her and boop, the game's over and it restarts again on level 2. Pretty awesome. Now, I really like that Atari was able to squeeze all 4 of the game levels on here. That was a big plus, because a lot of times when you got Atari 2600 game ports, they would leave levels out. For example, Coleco with Donkey Kong, they left out a couple of levels on there. So it was kind of nice that Atari was able to get all the levels in this and put it out for this fun system that I loved so much growing up. Well, enough of me rambling on. Let's take a look at what came in the box. Jungle Hunt, the box. Awesome. I like the Neville type of artwork on here. The guy with the little gap, British explorer gap tooth guy here. That's pretty funny. Nice box. It's the Silver Series box. I always like the Atari artwork, as I've said before. On the back, it shows a couple screens of the gameplay. I mean, it's got a lot of the arcade elements in it. At least it has all the levels of the arcade game, even though they're graphically represented a little bit differently, like the trees missing when you start off the game, stuff like that. But the gameplay is there. It's actually a pretty decent port of Jungle Hunt to the Atari 2600. Now inside the box, of course, we have our cartridge. Get out of there, you. Whoop. There we go. With the exact same artwork on the front of the cartridge. Pretty nice. Should have instructions in here too. Yep, there they are. Yeah, there. And we have, oh yes, a nice full color instruction manual. I always love the full color manuals. So let's take a look inside the manual here. It has a little story at the very beginning. I love it when they put stories in these manuals. So we got here, Chapter 1, A Savage Problem. Let me introduce myself. Sir Dudley Dashley is the name, and big hunting is my game. It was anyway until yesterday afternoon at 4, tea time, you know, when my wife, Lady Penelope, Dashley, Lady P for short, was kidnapped from camp. It simply ruined my whole tea service. Seems that a couple of savages saw Lady P and decided to cook her up in their own tea. Soon after Penelope was captured, the jungle drums started beating. My porters translated the message. They tell me it's some sort of jungle memo. A jungle memo, that's funny. Oh, here we go, look. To Cannibal Community from the Cannibal Restaurant Society. Tea time. We have a special on today's menu. Our home soup du jour is Englishwoman broth, made fresh today and served promptly at 4. Don't miss this special tea time treat, brought overseas from the wilds of England. Directions to today's meal are as follows. Take 11 vines through the deadly forest, turn right onto Reptile River, go past 14 crocodiles and emerge at the edge of the boulder field. Run through the boulders field until you reach Cannibal Camp. Jump past the 2 guards, watch out for their spear tips, turn left and you're there! Bon appetit! That's pretty funny. Talks about the gameplay there. The different obstacles, you know, there's the vines, the reptiles, boulder field, Cannibal Camp. So it does have all the different stages of the arcade game, which is pretty awesome for the Atari 2600 to have. Talks about the console controls. The scoring has some strategies. The faster you rescue Lady P, the more bonus points you receive. Well, duh. Yeah, we know that. Cool. Oh man, no one put any high scores in here. Oh, what a bummer. That's awesome. So that was Jungle Hunt on the Atari 2600. What are your thoughts on this game? Post down below, either video response or just type something in, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, thanks for watching. Give me some sugar, baby. Oh, yeah.